Hello, my name is Joey DeJesus, and I'm a poet and adjunct lecturer at BMCC in the English department, but I'm also a candidate for New York State Assembly District 38 here in Southern Queens, Ridgewood, Glendale, Liberty Park, Ozone Park, Woodhaven, South Richmond Hill. And I am making this video to introduce folks who may not be aware of what's happening down here to our campaign, and to explain specifically why it is I am the best candidate for this seat. So I want to take a few moments to just sort of like explain my campaign, and what it is that we're fighting for and what sets me apart from my opponents. I am a candidate who is entirely grassroots funded. I am the only candidate in this race who is entirely grassroots funded. I am not beholden to the billionaires. I am not beholden to the owning class. I believe as a poet that the word is far more valuable than the dollar. And for that reason, among other ethical reasons, I have disavowed fossil fuel money, I've disavowed developer money, I've disavowed war profiteer money. My opponents have not. We say no to that money. I answer only to the people, and not to moneyed interests and lobby, whatever. That's not what my campaign is about in the slightest. So that's the first thing that sets my campaign apart. And it's important to mention because it's why, in all likelihood, I'm the only candidate for 8038 to vow budget justice and fight for budget justice. Or, in other words, taxing the billionaires of New York. There are 100 and a couple billionaires of New York who, if taxed, we could have the social programs and our social needs met. We can fully fund our public schools. We can invest in urban agricultural education and urban agricultural spaces, and special education. We can restore tuition-free CUNY and SUNY to the people. CUNY used to be free until it began primarily servicing students of color. Okay, so we can fight for a fully funded public education and reduce our adjunctification. And we need to fully fund and retrofit public housing. We can fully fund the MTA. We can fully fund fare free public transit. This is a global city. New York is a global city. And we should have fare free public transit. We need to tax the millionaires and the billionaires especially, right? To create and enable and foster the economic growth that we are going to need to survive this catastrophe that we're barely surviving. So I was the first candidate in this assembly race to sign the New York State Homes Guarantee Candidate Pledge, avowing to uphold their fight with everything that every privilege the seat would give me. The New York State Homes Guarantee would not only end homelessness with Housing First policies, and it would protect tenants and homeowners in their homes, eliminating major capital improvements, pushing through good cause eviction legislation, just a litany of protections that would ultimately end homelessness. But I'm the first candidate to have signed this pledge. My opponent, Jennifer Raj Kumar, adamantly refuses. Why? Because it would mean returning money to the developers that she's taken campaign contributions from. Developers who threaten Spanish-speaking rent-stabilized tenants with deportation. So I'm proudly a New York Homes Guarantee candidate. Another thing is that I am a prison abolitionist. My opponents are not. They are supported by police unions and prison contractors, the builders of prisons. Money that I not only disavow, but I just find to be absolutely abhorrent. So what does prison abolitionism mean for my campaign? Well, in terms of policy, we need to decriminalize sex work and marijuana, especially given just the possibilities that these two industries pose for rebuilding and our economy. In thinking about prison abolition, we need to end punitive pedagogy in our schools, so suspensions and detentions, which are often used in their it's racist in its actual application. If you just look at the statistics and if you ask educators, we need to be thinking outside of punitive pedagogy, but we also need to be thinking, and this is kind of getting back to the reasons for fair, free public transit. You know, we need to sort of decarcerate our mind and decarcerate the built environment in which we live, right? Every time we get on the subway, we're crossing through bars and checkpoints. And we've normalized this. The bars and the checkpoints need to come out. This impacts our psyche. And it's just what it means to be a prison abolitionist. Another thing that sets me apart from my opponents is that I'm the only candidate for AD 38 to have signed anything pertaining to the Green New Deal. So I am a Green New Deal candidate. I believe in divesting from dirty energy and oil. I've refused publicly any such money from fossil fuel industries. I also have signed the Public Power Coalition's candidate pledge to democratize and decommodify our energy. We should not be paying monopolies for utilities that are essential to our survival. We should have public ownership of our energy, and this is how we ultimately transition to 100% renewable energy. Everybody's talking about flattening the curve for COVID. We need to flatten the curve for carbon emissions, because we're just beginning to see the consequences. We are a majority-minority district. The majority of people living in our community are either immigrants or first-generation immigrants, maybe second-generation immigrants. We got immigrants, our neighbors in our homes. Like ours is a community of immigrants, and because of that, I'm the only candidate in this race to have support to agree with the passage of the green light laws, which extended driver's licenses to undocumented folk and immigrants. I'm also the only candidate, maybe for state assembly anywhere across the state, to call publicly for universal suffrage. It's anti-democratic to withhold the right to vote in state and local elections from anyone. And the only way in which we get our politicians to start caring about us is if they start to care about all of us, especially in our district, which is just so beautiful and brown. So I publicly believe and avow and will fight for immigrant suffrage and universal suffrage. I'm just sending off with a thank you to everyone for listening. Please check out dejesus2020.com. Follow me on Instagram and Twitter, DeJesusSaves. Thank you for joining me with all of this, because this is a lot. We animate the dream. We animate the dream.